You are under attack. Every moment of the day you receive messages and requests. When growing up, that isn't so bad. It's mostly your parents telling you to clean your room or your teacher telling you to make your homework. But as we get older, there's more people asking for time and they're using more channels to do so. Coffee talks, meetings, email, Twitter, Facebook, Slack, MS Teams, the list goes on. You might spend your whole day checking your phone to make sure you don't miss anything, slowly drowning in a sea of notifications. And if you're feeling overwhelmed with all these options, you are not alone. And then the question becomes, can you do something about it? Now, on a regular day, if I don't pay attention, this happens. I'm working on one thing and then somebody asks me something and this one thing moves into like a mental queue in my head and I start doing the other thing. And then another interruption happens and I move this one in the queue as well. Well, slowly but surely this thing stacks up and at some point I have like 5 or 6 things in my head and there's just no room left to think. Even worse, if I would add another thing, I might start forgetting things and that really gets me to worry. So life throws things at you and that won't change. What can change, however, is how you deal with all those requests and find a way to remove that queue from your head. So here's the main trick, and that is to keep everything you need to do in one list. Uno. That's not as easy as it sounds. So in this video, I'm giving a couple of tricks to help you get that list going and make sure that it doesn't grow out of proportion. Now you might be thinking, well, I already got a to-do list, so I don't have anything to worry about. But the trick is that there's a lot of to-do lists around you that you don't realize you have. Email is an obvious one, but you can also have like a Kanban board with stickies or notifications on your phone. Your living space is also one big to-do list. If there's clothing on the bed, you know you have to put it into the laundry. If there's cups somewhere, you know you need to wash those things up. And that means that as you're walking around in your space, there might be all these little reminders telling your brain that you still have things to do. Now, one way to deal with that is to be doing the things as they appear in front of you. And when playing The Witcher, that would result into me doing 4 days of side quests, having a fully stacked Gwent deck, but haven't moved anything on the main quest. And that's fine with The Witcher when there aren't any stakes like in most video games where everybody just nicely waits until you got the time. But in real life you start to worry. Am I missing something? Am I forgetting something important? And that worry is where stress really comes from. It's not the amount of work that you need to do, but not knowing for sure if you're doing the work that matters. Having everything in a single list helps you. It makes that you don't have to spend time checking multiple places on what you need to do. It means that you have an idea of all the things that are on your plate and know if you're not overworking yourself. And most importantly, because you know how much there's on your plate, it makes it easier to say no. So we need to work on your defense, and the best way you can do that is by having one inbox, one place to rule them all, where you can chuck things in without thinking about it. The not thinking about it is essential. You want as little friction as possible so you can mindlessly do it whenever it pops up. For example, I have Todoist quick add in my top bar in Android, meaning that if I need to add something, I just slide it down, hit the button, type in whatever I'm thinking and hit send. Done. It takes a split second, and I even had people not notice that I was writing stuff down that they were asking from me. The main thing to avoid is too much thinking. One of the mistakes that I used to make was that I had an inbox for tasks and an inbox for notes. That's already too much friction. What I do now is I just add everything to my Todoist task list, and if it's a note, I'll just sort it out later. Now, adding things to a list is great, but usually there's some context around it, like the person asking it, some information they mailed you. And the trick with an inbox is that you process the inbox daily or maybe even a couple of times a day and then add that information to it. Because it's fresh, you usually still remember like who you talked to and what information was relevant. Just be sure that when you do process it, to add enough details so that your future self can work on it. They will be thankful for it once you get there, and don't think you can keep it in your head, because that's a lie your brain tells you in the moment. Now, to help my future self, I usually add URLs to relevant data to my tasks, and that's fine if you're doing digital, but it won't work as well if you're using paper. If you're using paper, then just add a couple of keywords that allow you to find the relevant digital information. So for example, if it's an Outlook email, I would say Outlook from John on last Friday, the 2nd of February. I don't care. Like, as long as there's a date in there, you can usually sift through your information and find that email back. Now, you want to avoid filling up your system with too many tasks. And to do so, there are two main tricks to keep that clean. The first one is the 2-minute rule, and that means that if it's less than 2 minutes work, just do it straight away, because adding it to your system, looking it up later, is just going to take more time than actually doing it. If it's small, just chuck it away, done, and keep going with your day. Now, if it's big, if it's like more than half an hour, then another problem arises, and that means that if you're doing your tasks, you'll get stuck. Because if it's half an hour, you'll be working on it, people interrupting you, you need to re-figure out where you were. So if it's longer than that, you either have to break it down into smaller tasks that can be done in half an hour, or you can chuck some time in your calendar. So just block out 2 hours somewhere, put that task in there, so like that time is to get that thing off my plate. Both systems mean that your task list becomes this nice fluid motion and keeps going. Be sure to check out the Legend of You playlist, which has all the videos around this topic in the right order. And if you're stuck getting started with this whole productivity thing, if you look in the description, there's a special mailing list that will send you like a weekly quest, which is a small task to help you get started on your own system. It's totally free. Be sure to join in there. Now, remember, you're awesome. Keep it up and see you on the next one.